All right, let's bring her in. She is the host of the Reality Life podcast. She is a multi-time guest on this show. Have her on every 3 or 4 months or so. Let's bring her in. Kate Casey from the Reality Life podcast. Kate, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. And here we are. I said at the open, bring you on every 3 or 4 months. I was like, when did I last have Kate on? And yeah, it was about August. It was literally almost 3 months to the day we've had you on. I think it was August 8th. So it's
Well,
perfect
I'm
timing.
coming on because we always talk about stuff that you should be watching. But I have
But
to ask you this burning question.
oh God. What?
Does this guy Chalk really love her, or does he just want to win?
That seems to be a lot of what the consensus is,
He
that they
just wants
think
to win.
he's too pushy, and he just seems like
He,
he's saying all the right things and to win, you know? I
well,
mean,
he
I
does
guess
talk in a lot of like football terms. And then on his social media, everything is kind of like bro town. Like everything he does, he's like, now I'm going to go to the country club and I'm going to hang out with these 20 guys. I'm probably going to talk about like our football careers. And he seems so uptight and kind of like wound up, like white knuckling it. Like if I don't win and beat these weirdos, like I got to call it a day.
I haven't even seen his social media. I haven't even followed. I did not know that. I didn't know what he posts or anything
Okay,
like
another
that.
thing that's weird, and I don't know if this is because as a podcaster, but at the beginning I was like, oh, this guy's my favorite. So I did something on my Instagram story, like this guy's my favorite, and he shared it and then he deleted it like 15 minutes later.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. So
It's
what's that?
I mean, it's possible
What's
that
that about?
yeah, I don't know. What did you share? What did you
No, all I
post?
said was like it was like a clip from him on the show, and I went, "This guy's my favorite," or "Chalk's my favorite."
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know why he would delete that after 15 minutes unless he hasn't been posting people doing that all season and he was like, "Yeah, maybe I shouldn't
No, it
just
was the
start
first episode.
posting." Okay. It's possible he was just like, "You know what? If I do it for one, that means everybody that compliments me, I got to do it for them." And he was just like, "You know what? I'd rather just not do it." But if he's been liking and doing stuff like that since then, and
Well,
you're
would
like, "Well,
somebody
what?"
at the network say it's in bad form to post a podcaster likes you? Would
It's
they do
possible.
that?
It's possible. I know that they're very strict when it comes to social media stuff, so it is very possible.
So will they,
But
if there's a contestant, do you think the publicists are like, hey, let's just like run stuff through us first, or do you think they tell them like this is the kind of stuff you should be posting?
well, what they do is, I mean, I know they do this for Bachelor and Bachelorette, and probably assume they do it for Golden Bachelorette as well. Is what they do is before every episode airs, everyone that's a contestant on the show gets sent an email of pictures and videos that were taken during filming, and they're just given a batch of them to say, hey, you can use these in your
That's
social media
smart.
posts. So
Okay.
that's how they're allowed to do it. Because sometimes when you're watching Bachelorette, like Jen season, and you see some of the guys posting, selfies of them going like this or whatever, it's just like, wait a second, I thought they didn't have their phones. They don't. Producers took those pictures and then producers put them in, I guess, a pile. So when the show actually does air 3 or 4 months later, they say, hey, these are from episode 2. You can post these as we head into tonight's episode. So that's kind of the way it
Interesting.
works. I'm assuming
Well
that's the
done.
way it works for them. Before we get into Golden Bachelorette, I did want to start out with Love is Blind, because I
Oh
know that
yeah.
you've talked about it recently.
Mhm.
I've still got some serious questions about the reunion, things that were said at the reunion, things that have been said post reunion,
Mhm.
because I don't think we're getting the answers that we have questions to. They're just answering in generalities, and I'm just kind of
Well, I
shocked.
think the problem was that 2 couples in particular, they had conversations that were not filmed,
Yeah.
and so they allude to that, and you're like, "What?" So there are things that I don't even think the producers understand about their personal stories and their couple stories because they withheld it from the filming portion,
Are
which is
you
just a disaster.
yeah.
It doesn't play out well. It makes people frustrated.
Are you aware of Tyler's baby mama's Instagram posts?
I am.
Okay. That's the thing that I want to talk about first, because on the reunion show, which this is the thing I don't know, but I've seen Ashley speak post reunion show, is I don't know if the reunion show was filmed before or after Tyler's baby mama said what the situation
Oh, it
is
was
with the 3
after.
kids. Okay. It
Yeah.
was filmed after, or she posted after?
No, the reunion was it was after she posted it.
Okay, so Ashley could have addressed this on the reunion if she
She
wanted to.
Yeah, but if you watch the 2 of them, the way she was looking at him, they had some sort of agreement, like, "This is what we're
Mm,
gonna say." They had already crafted their lines, they didn't wanna go any further, and I mean, to
okay.
her credit, she probably did a good job with, the linguistics, probably saying, this is we are comfortable with what we're gonna do moving forward, and it's really at this point no one else's business. I mean, in normal life, that would be great, but you're also on a TV show, and we invested all these weeks into your story, so we would like some answers. I'm sure the production team was pissed off too, but where do you go when someone says that?
Yeah, you can't really force them to say anything. But since the show, she's almost like getting mad at the public for saying, like, you don't think I did. She said the second she got her phone back, she did a Google search on Tyler. It's like, okay. But what we want to know is on the show, he was calling his 3 children sperm babies. And we come to
Right.
find out only one of them was. Like, why hasn't she addressed the fact that, number
Uh-huh.
one,
Yeah,
the twins that he has with this woman were conceived through sex?
right.
And then number two, and I'm just taking the baby mama's Instagram post at face value. Maybe she's
Yeah.
lying. I don't know. But number two, she said specifically the last time he has spoken to them or seen them was the day before he left for filming. So, Ashley, just as a woman, wouldn't you want to know
Yeah.
why the man you're with has disowned 3 children? I don't understand this.
Well, especially, I mean, listen, there have been cases, I've even covered documentaries where people do these sort of transactions outside of a fertility clinic because it's much cheaper. And certainly lesbian couples have asked men, especially friends of theirs, to do this. But most of those people set up some sort of contractual agreement. There doesn't seem to be one here.
No.
So, because of that, especially, you would think that Ashley would be less defensive when people are trying to bring to her attention, moving forward, you are also now financially responsible for these 3 children. So that's the weird part.
Well, what about just the fact that he called them sperm babies on the show? I mean, one of them is, yes, I get that. But 2 of them, I mean, I
I know.
is that just him not wanting to go into detail about having sex with his lesbian friend? I don't know
Oh, I'm
why he's
sure he
calling
has
them
some
sperm
sort of
babies.
answer that he gave Ashley, and they allude to that. Like, we had discussions off camera, which again, the producers are probably like, "You've got to be kidding me. Like, we've put you through these, you owe it to us." But they've found some sort of loophole where, and I think that's the problem. People are a little too savvy with this show now that in the first like 4 seasons, they had filmed so many back to back to back that those seasons had not aired yet. So it was sort of a mystery to some of those seasons of like how the show plays out. Now they're all too savvy. And I think this was an example of it. 2 different couples were like, well, we talked about something off camera, but they don't have any obligation to provide us with the information of what those conversations were when they were not filmed.
Yeah, I'm just really wondering now where it goes from here
Yeah.
with I mean, the show itself, which we'll get to in a second because I've got some issues with the reunion show, and then which I think a lot of people do. Um, but I'm looking at these 2. I'm looking at Tyler and Ashley, and like you said, her getting very defensive in post reunion podcast episodes that I've seen clips of that show up on my Instagram search page or For You page on TikTok. And I'm like, what is, it sounds like she's just not, I guess we're just not going to get any answers. Like, why isn't she addressing the fact that this man
Mhm.
was part of these 3 children's lives? And according to the baby mama, he has not seen or spoken to them in over a year, September 30th, the 2023, the day before he left for filming. So I just want to know, like, why were you in their lives before then? And look, if you just want to send money and just be like, hey, I've got a new wife, I've got a new life, I understand I'm the father of these children, I will take care of my responsibilities in the child support area, but I'm sorry, I'm moving on with my life. That's the choice that he makes. That's the choice that he makes. But it sounds like he has absolutely nothing to do with them. Which I think is just horrible for the children. Whether or not you want to say like, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is about us. This isn't. This story isn't about the children. That's why we're not going to talk about it." Well, the second he went on the show, he made it about the children. I'm
You
sorry.
know what, I bet he didn't think he'd even make it that far, and then he's
It's
getting deeper and deeper, and he's like, "Oh, shit.
yeah,
I gotta put the toothpaste back in the tube."
yeah. I mean, I I'd like to know why he's disowned the children.
Yeah,
Why? I mean, it's bad for them. I mean, these kids are going to be scarred now. I mean, once
I know.
the twins obviously have no idea what's going on. I think they're very young. I think they're 2 or something. They're not very
Yeah.
old. And I think the child he had, the IVF with his lesbian friend, I think that kid is 3 or 4. They're not
Mhm.
very old. They obviously don't understand it yet, but they will at some point. And you're just like, you just kind of want an explanation from
But then
Tyler. Just like, tell us
the
about this.
ex of the mother
Yeah.
who put the video out, she makes it seem as if that they were intimate the entire time, so it's confusing too.
Oh, the ex of the baby mama has spoken out?
Mhm.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen what she said
Yeah.
about it. Is that the reason that she split up? Because she split up while did they ever
She
get
doesn't say
married, or did
that,
she
but
split up when they were engaged?
intimates that, that Tyler had a romantic relationship with her, that the ex was not, solely interested in one person, like, she had
Mm,
some sort of love affair going on with Tyler. Of course, we don't know really what the truth is because it's just a bunch of people screaming at one time, you know?
yeah, well, except Tyler, he's not saying any. I mean, he's not really saying
True.
anything. But yeah,
In
did
anything,
they
yeah.
ever get married, that couple, or did she
Oh, yeah, they're
say
married.
no, no,
Tyler
no,
and Ashley?
no, no,
Oh,
no,
the other
the
one?
baby mama and her ex
I don't
that they had a child through Tyler with?
I don't think so because they make it seem it's like cut and run.
So they broke up before. I was just wondering if they ever got married or
They
if they were just
had
engaged.
they were raising the first child, and then she split,
Okay.
and
So
then he
the
was
child
intimate.
had okay, for some
Yeah.
reason I thought the child hadn't even been born yet. Okay, got it.
No, I think, present in the life.
All right, the next couple I wanna talk about is Ramses and Marissa,
Right.
only because I don't even think after watching the reunion, after listening to Marissa, seeing clips of her doing podcasts post-reunion, I don't even really know if I still understand what Ramses' reason for ending the engagement 2 days before the wedding is.
Well, I think he'd been married before, and he meets her family, and her mom's like, "I'm not interested in you and the bullshit that you're bringing to the table." And he's on this weird show, and they have to live together. They fight all the time, and he was probably like, "This is probably not a good idea, and I know that because I've already been married." I don't know. I think in the long run, he probably did her a favor, but in the short term, you're like, could have delivered the information in a better way.
And the conversations they had about condom
I
sex
mean,
and
wackadoo, crazy, right?
like how did he think that that was going to make him look good in any way? Now, obviously, post show he's saying you're seeing an edited version. I wasn't making it seem like I was pissed because she wouldn't have sex with me while she was on her period. That's
Mhm.
not what it was. But it's just like it certainly seemed that way. Marissa
Yeah,
seems to
I
think it
think
was that
yeah.
way.
I think we got a pretty clear idea of how he stands, and as my friend Krista Rosa says, no one ever explained the 2 Jedi braids that were
No one.
taken off during the reunion. Made no sense.
I mean, it was barely even brought up while we were watching the 12 episodes of the show.
Yes.
Like, why do you have these braids? What are they? Why
What is the significance? Right.
are you a Padawan from the early Star Wars movies? I didn't
No idea.
understand it. I
And now
didn't get it. No one
his
did.
outfit was bonkers, but the worst was Garrett. I mean, what is that guy doing? He's like a physicist that shows up in the most bonkers outfit and his long hair, and she's wearing this weird dress with like it's made out of like a cast, and she's sitting all the way on the edge of the chair like she's about to fall over. And his chair seemed way too big for his body, and then he's being annoying and he's cutting people off. And I think he was falling into leaning into fame a little too much, like enjoying it a little too much.
Well, it sounds like he's doing I thought he said he went to when we first saw those pictures surface, which was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the reunion. These pictures started surfacing of what Garrett looks like now, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this he's totally married." There's no that's the wife made him do that. That's a total glow up, which is I mean, it
Glow
looks
up?
yeah, that's what people were
Maybe,
saying.
glow adjacent? I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
They just liked the way he looked better with long hair, I guess, over the
No
short hair,
way,
but
he looked way better before, I
yeah,
don't
and
know.
I think, look, it was I've only seen 2 seasons of this show. I saw last season and this season. I never watched any of seasons 1 through 5, because the pod episodes really, really bother me, because
Yeah.
I just feel like everybody's saying what they think the other person wants to hear, and they
Yeah.
say things, and we talk about how ridiculous the concept of the Bachelor and the Bachelorette is, to get engaged to somebody that you barely
But
know after
also
8 weeks. This is even
dating
more ridiculous.
when you're dating, you're lying. I don't care if you go on a date with somebody you met through a friend, you're online, you're on a TV show, everybody lies. Like, I remember when I was dating my husband, I said, like, "I love to cook and I love to travel." Like, I hate to travel and I never cook. Like, you exaggerate who you are because you wanna, like, attract people.
You
And
don't
then you're
cook, Kate?
no, I have no time, and, it's like, no one eats what I make. What's the point? No.
That's funny. Yeah, no, yeah, we all. What does Chris Rock say? When you go out, when you start dating, you're sending a representative of yourself to
That's
represent
exactly
you.
right.
That's
Yes.
that's what you're doing. And
Yes.
but on this show, I mean, there are probably some people out there in the world, but they're certainly in the minority of people that say, "Oh, my husband that I'm with right now, I absolutely would have married him, without seeing him ever." I just think
Mm,
it's a ridiculous concept to
right.
propose to somebody before you've even seen them physically, because it's not like looks mean everything, but you have to be attracted to somebody, and you can say, well, they're attracted to their heart and they're attracted to their soul and the way they speak. It's just like, that's just too
But you know what I have to
flowery. And
say? Watch the UK version. It's a little, nuttier. It's, very
what do those
interesting.
people do? Do they try and get
They're
clues of what
just
the person looks like?
no, but they're just so much more sophisticated and,
Mm.
like, respectful. There's none of, like, these big weird moments and lies and all of that and outrage. They're just very nice people dating. It's so interesting. I have not watched the one that they have, the Habibi. I wanna watch that one, 'cause that's in Dubai. I do think it's interesting to look at different parts of the world and how people date, so that's kinda cool.
And I guess maybe it's just because we are in the US, and the US dating scene isn't great for people that
It's
are in the US
wild.
dating scene. So,
Yeah.
and then when you're on a show like this, which is now going to be, on February 14th of next year, when season 8 drops in Minneapolis, those people have now seen, well, the Minneapolis people couldn't have seen DC, but they've seen 6 previous seasons when they filmed
They've
that.
seen other seasons. Do
They
you
know
know
what they're getting into, and they know what can come of it. They realize they're on a
Yeah.
TV show, and you get that whole thing of, are they really taking it seriously?
When I moved to LA and I went on Match.com, and by the way, I met my husband on Match.com and we lied for 2 years about how we met each other. I do believe I should be in the Match.com ads. It should be me with my husband and my kids screaming, and I look at the camera and I go, "Match.com, are you sure you want this?" Okay, but I did meet this one guy and I went out and we had this long conversation, and he's telling to me about his life and his siblings. He said he had a ton of half siblings. They traveled all over the world, and I looked at him and I went, "Did you grow up in the Children of God?" Which, by the way, is like this crazy sex cult. It's like what the Joaquin Phoenix and his siblings were in. And he looks at me and he goes, "Oh my God, did you too?" And I went, "No, I've just watched a lot of 2020 and Dateline." And I stayed in with that at that date for a little while just so I could get all the information, and then he asked me out again, and I never did. But it was like watching a documentary, but sitting next to somebody at a bar. It was great.
I haven't. Oh gosh, I was on Match literally when it first started, like when it was 19.99 a month. I don't even know what it is now. Is Match.com even still a
I
thing?
don't know, but I wonder how much these are.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are
I'm
they
not on any of
expensive?
the
These
dating apps.
the
No, I'm
dating
not
apps.
on any of them.
I wonder
I
if they're
haven't been on them,
expensive.
and I have not been on Match.com since 2006, 2007,
So
when it was
how do
night.
you meet people to date? Just like in town?
I don't really date. That's the
I feel
thing.
like it's so hard because if you work from home or
Yeah.
you just go to the same places, you're not really meeting anybody new. But then again, a lot of people are I feel like I could have a side business where I write people's profiles and consult them on the pictures they should use because I think I could help people.
It's possible. You could be a matchmaker. Look at see like, hey, look at that should be your side. It
Maybe
should be
that's
your side
because I've
business.
watched so many of the other shows. Jewish Matchmaker, I don't know, there are like a million. Indian Matchmaker, all of them.
The last thing I want to talk about in regards to Love is Blind is the reunion show, because it got a lot of heat for, I don't know, maybe just saying it's going to be this explosive reunion when
You
I
can
don't
never
think
promise that.
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
think
we
it
we
gave
saw that
us
on The
anything.
Bachelor. This is the most dramatic season episode ever. You just can't overpromise. Listen, they have too many couples, and under an hour, they're trying to catch up with all of them. I think where they swing and a miss is I don't like that they have people that have been on previous seasons and sometimes seasons like 5 seasons ago who show up and they have them sitting there and catch up with them. I really don't care about them. Like, I've already moved on the day after the show ends. So, I don't need any of that. And I feel like Nick Lachey is like the cantankerous husband that's sort of like, "Where are we like, we're going to someone's party tonight." He's like the date of the wife that doesn't wanna be at the party, and I
Yeah.
feel like she gets too emotionally invested in the couples.
See, my issue is it's kind of the same as yours. I get why they bring other successful couples back because they wanna show, "Hey, everybody, this works." I just don't need an update on every
But no,
single one of them.
the one girl, married somebody who
AD.
wasn't even on the
Oh,
show,
yeah,
so what's the
yeah.
point?
The only person I even knew was AD because that's the only other season I watched, which was last season. I knew who Marshall
Yeah.
was just because he's Justin's cousin from The Bachelor or Bachelorette. But it's okay to bring back alumni. Bachelor does it, Bachelorette does it all the time. But The Bachelor and Bachelorette during the After the Final Rose show doesn't go into the audience and say,
No, like,
"Hey,
"Hey,
give
what's
us an
up?"
update." Every once
Yeah,
in a
no,
while,
no.
they will with just one. But
Yeah.
Love is Blind went to every single person they brought back and said, "Hey, what is the update with you?" It's unnecessary.
But, look at
Doesn't need to
Blake.
be
He
done.
found love through that show even though he wasn't on it. I mean,
Who?
Blake and,
Oh, Blake and yeah, Giannina.
Gianella?
I don't even know how to pronounce her name.
I
I
think
think
it's
it's
Gianella or
Giannina.
something.
Yeah,
Giannina. Oh, yeah, she's a
Giannina.
beauty. Yeah, I always liked Blake.
He Yeah, I mean, they went on they found love on that show that they did on MTV, like, they went on an MTV show.
Oh,
That's
that's
how they
right.
met each
Yeah.
other. But,
Beautiful
yeah,
couple. Nice
I just think the
people.
reunion was I guess I was expecting more. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, the baby mama had just gone on Instagram 5 days earlier, so I'm like, the biggest thing I'm looking to hear in this reunion show is what are Ashley and Tyler going to say about this? And they gave me nothing. They just said, like you said, oh, the kids didn't sign up for this. I knew everything that was going on. You guys don't understand. This was a year ago.
Yeah.
You're seeing it now, but trust me, I know what's going on. It's like, but you didn't really address what we
And I
wanted to
felt like
know.
she answered for him, if you think
Yeah.
about it. Like, he barely said anything, so he gets away with it.
And he threw up the tears too. He went
Mhm.
to the waterworks and it's just like, okay.
And also the other cast members like him, so if they maybe hadn't liked him, he would have been held under the fire a little bit more. Like, no, dude, remember when we were filming the show, you said this?" No one said that. Like, none of those
uh
dudes were like, when we were in those pods for 2 weeks and we hung out all the time because we didn't have our phones, you told me that you couldn't wait to have kids, but never brought up the 3 others," or whatever it may be.
yeah. No, clearly they didn't know until probably after the show filmed. But you had Nick Dorca on your podcast while the
Yes.
show was still airing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you couldn't find out anything. He couldn't reveal anything to you. But when you spoke to Nick,
Mhm.
what was your impression of him? You saw what happened to him at the reunion where he was basically ambushed by Hannah saying, like, "You
Yeah,
called
I
me a
think
grenade," and all this stuff. What'd you think of Nick when you
well,
spoke?
first of all, I liked him because he reminds me of everybody from college because I went to school in DC. I think
Oh,
he was way too young for the show. I think, it was probably very hard to cast for the show, and he hit a couple boxes, but the biggest box is mature enough to have their own property and be ready to, get engaged to somebody. And conversely, I don't think that she was of the
ready
right
either.
age either. So the 2 of them felt like little kids playing house in, like, someone's back shed. And I think to his credit, when I talked to him, he said, "This has been a very enlightening experience for me. I've learned a lot about myself." I also couple that with the problem that dudes of his age group who go on reality shows all have, which is they get on the show and their DMs are full. They get recognized everywhere, and there's no chance for introspection when he needs to go through a period of, like, the year, like, from the show starts airing and, before the new season airs where he's getting so much action. He's like, "Well, this worked out well for me." I was surprised that she said he had put on some notepad, "I'm gonna be the biggest star in Love Is Blind history," because I was like, "Wow, that's pretty bold." I don't
And
see that happening when you're
no.
from the District of Columbia, but okay.
Yeah, and it kind of plays into what we talked about with Bachelor and Bachelorette contestants is there's obviously ulterior motives, and he put that on there, and whether or not she had the right to even go look for it since it was part of a journal
That's
and he
weird.
found it. It's like,
By the way, who has a journal anymore? That threw me off. I was like,
uh,
"Why? Why? Why does
I have
anybody have a diary or a journal?"
I have a notes app on my phone. That's where anything I need to write down and remember goes.
But can you
But
imagine like journaling? Like,
no.
today I'm thinking about, I see these TikToks of people that are always like, start my morning off. I light a candle, I have some coffee, and then I journal. I'm like, what? Crazy.
Different strokes for different folks, I guess. Yeah, I can't imagine writing stuff down. My hand would cramp just because you're not used to writing. We
Right.
don't write, we
Exactly.
type.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit there and write a dissertation every morning when I wake up, but
No.
some people do. I don't really get it. Wanted to move on to Golden Bachelorette. We talked about it briefly in the beginning,
Yeah.
but here we are down to two men, Chalk and Guy. The spoiler's been out there for a while.
My friend
And
Chris calls Guy Mitt Romney meets Jerry Seinfeld.
oh, I see the Romney. The Seinfeld I can see with the mouth and the nose. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see it now. And the Romney with just the facial structure.
Yes.
And, obviously a good looking guy.
But he's got like a restraining order from an ex. That's
But
a
yeah,
little
I was just
problem.
does have a
Problem
restraining
some.
order from his ex-wife out against him. That came up and not good, just like one of the other guys did. The
Okay.
teacher
Was his
from
name
Orange County.
Gil?
Yeah, Gil.
Wow.
By the way, that was on October 22nd. By the way, we have an update on that story. On October 22nd, she refiled and it was reissued. So he still
Wow.
has it
And Orange
out of it.
County.
Yeah, who he is? He's the athletic director at Capo Valley High School.
He is?
Yes. Well, I don't know if he is anymore because of this, but he's the AD at Capo Valley. Yeah.
Wow.
You're
I have
familiar
a
with
friend who
Capo
goes
Valley,
to
right?
school there.
Yeah.
Or her daughter goes to school there. Wow.
Ask the daughter or ask the mother about Gil Ramirez. But obviously,
Yikes.
as of this summer when he had a job, I don't know if he's still there. Maybe he's gone to a different school, or maybe he's been let go, or maybe he quit. I don't know. But
Yeah.
when he talked about being in Orange County and a teacher, he's the AD at Capo Valley. I don't know if that means he teaches there as well, but he's definitely the actor.
I think usually you have to be a teacher in order to coach, don't you?
Well, the AD is just he oversees the athletic department. Like he's the athletic department head, which means he oversees all the sports at Capo Valley High School. So
I know,
don't
but
know
it's
if that
not
means
like it's the University of
he could
Southern
be a coach.
California. It's like a little high
Yeah.
school. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was reissued a couple weeks ago. She refiled, and apparently, it's someone sent me the paperwork. It's like 79 pages of exhibits that this woman
Yikes.
submitted. A lot of it's kind of we're going to get into this with one of the shows I want to talk about. It's kind of similar to the just the amount of exhibits. Apparently it was just a lot of phone calls he made to her and text messages, just not leaving her alone. And she's asking
Relentless.
for like, hey, yeah, relentless, just leave me alone. I don't want to be with you.
Wow.
And him just constantly doing that and constantly saying things and showing up in places that he knew that she would be, stuff like that, which is not a good thing. And
No.
he's never really like, at least Guy put out a statement and addressed the TRO that got out. And he said, bad time of my life, take full responsibility. Guy hasn't said, they both start with a G, both 3-letter names. Gil hasn't said anything as far as I know. He's never addressed any of this.
Well, maybe the
on social
school
media.
district said, please don't talk about it. I would
It's
assume.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
Wow.
made EW.com, it made people.com.
Yeah.
Like this was a story. Now, I don't think any of those stories ever identified. They just called him an educator, I think, in Orange County. I don't think they ever said his title or his school, but I mean, it's public knowledge. If you Google the guy, he's the AD at Capo Valley. But yeah, I mean, just a bad look overall for the Bachelor franchise to have two coming off all the Devin stuff where he had a restraining order taken out against him from an ex-girlfriend in college, like literally going right into Golden Bachelorette, and then two other guys have it. It
Not
just
good. But
not a good
you know
look.
who I wanna ask you about? Do you think Charles is having a great life now? Because he just stole everyone's heart. Like, that guy, what a sweetheart.
Wasn't there 2 Charles on the show?
The gentleman from Malvern who has the 2 daughters and he was widowed.
Where's Malvern?
Oh, it's in Philly. It's Philly suburb.
Oh,
His wife had died maybe, like, 10 years ago, and his daughter said he just was so sad all the time.
I'm
The
mixing
short
up the
Asian
names.
guy that when he left, she was like, "Thank you,
Oh,
my
he's from
friend."
Philly?
Yeah,
Why did it's funny you bring that up. I just never thought of, wait, where is Charles from? Yeah, I didn't know he was from Philly. Okay. Yeah,
'cause I give the Philly vibe. He probably doesn't. He seems, like, meek and sweet and quiet, but Philly people are more, like, in your face. That's probably why.
I did not know he was from Philly. Yeah, I mean, he was the star of the season,
I hope
easily.
that guy is, like, getting brand deals and is in love. I swear.
He's and here's the thing, like, I don't mean to they ran into some really rough publicity this season for Golden Bachelorette with 2 guys having restraining orders. But the show in and of itself, it's done at the mansion. It's the same concept as The Bachelor and Bachelorette,
Yeah.
but to me, it's a completely different show because on The Bachelor and the Bachelorette, they're focused on the drama. They want people to talk shit about each other. And this show is
No, the
really
love
a love
story
fest for
are
the
the
guys.
dudes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the fraternity love.
yeah.
That's what it is, which I kinda like that, but
They don't embarrass any of the contestants. There's 0
no,
drama between the contestants in the house. They all like each other.
because everyone's too old. They're like, "I don't
Yeah,
wanna deal with that." Do
yeah.
you think, Mark is the new Bachelor? Do we know who the next Golden Bachelor is?
No, I mean, it doesn't start filming till next summer, so I don't even think they've made a decision. I mean, they haven't even announced their next Bachelorette yet, so they won't announce
Oh,
Golden Bachelor until probably, I mean, they still have to film the next Bachelorette season in March, and then they gotta film Paradise, which is coming back next
oh,
summer.
good, but you know what? They
We're
need to do Golden Paradise, where they take all of the older people and they let them go to a resort and make out all day long.
My guess is next season of Paradise will have some of the Golden Bachelor and Golden Bachelorette men and women down there on the beach. I think they'll mix it.
Oh,
They won't give
I
them their
don't they
own.
can't mix them, that's so depressing.
I can't see them getting their own season because number one, that's now a 5th show in a calendar year for this show to produce. There's no time
Huh,
to do a separate month to film regular Bachelor in Paradise. Then you got to film Golden Bachelor, and then you got to go film. I don't even know when it would air because they're
yeah.
constantly filming and airing. I don't see that happening, but I do see them using. I mean, look at what's her face, Kathy and
Oh, I
the
gotta be
loud
honest.
Philly Susan from
They do
Golden
drive me
Bachelor.
they drive me crazy.
Yeah,
They like the camera too much.
and they're getting, and here we are a year
And I
later
don't
from their
think Joan
season airing.
likes them. I don't think Joan likes them. I think she's like, "Please don't let them film my show." But wait, is it true that Jen, the previous Bachelorette, has fallen deep in love with her Dancing with the Stars dancing partner?
That's the rumor. They
How about
still
that? That's
post together.
unexpected.
Yeah, they still post together all the time, and they haven't said anything specifically, but when they've been asked about it while the show was airing, they certainly didn't shoot it down. They would just kind of giggle and ho hum about it and kind
Yeah.
of breadcrumb people into thinking, well, maybe it is, maybe there is something.
You know who used to do that? Val and Merle Davis. Remember when they were on together?
No, it was Max was with
Oh,
Merrill.
Max. Yeah,
Yeah.
by the way, they may have boned, I don't know, but Merle Davis was a better dancer than all the other dancing pros. There, I've said it. End
she
of
was
point.
she was
She
excellent.
was phenomenal. Yeah.
I think, put it this way, if in the next couple weeks, maybe when the show ends or whatever, Jen and Sasha reveal that they are dating, I don't think anyone will be surprised. Put it that way.
Well, that's kinda cute. Don't you think? That's kinda sweet that worked out.
Well, especially after the horrendous ending to her season she had.
That was bad.
My only thinking would be the night of her after the final rose, when everything went down with Devin. She didn't find out until she got off stage that she was on Dancing with the Stars. She had been talking and she had been in talks, but she didn't know that she was cast. When she walked off stage at the after the final rose that night, that's when she met Sasha and they got on a plane and went to New York for GMA. So
Cheer.
I
Wow.
just want her to be careful that this relationship, because we know how the relationships are in Dancing with the Stars. You spend 8 to 10 hours a day with this person. Are you really falling for them?
Yeah, it's like camp. It's
Yeah.
really camp, just like movie sets when they, like, you
And
know?
is it rebound for her
Yeah,
because of what
and they
happened
think
with
they're
Debbie?
in love, and then they go to the movie set, next one, and they're like, "What the hell was I thinking?"
I mean, we saw what just happened with Gleb and Brooks. Like they were this couple,
They
they
were
were
hot
going,
minute for, like, 3 seconds, right?
yeah, and then they've already broken up. And it's just like that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like it's a very high pressure, high intensity situation, very intimate when you're with
Physical,
your partner,
intimate, yes.
physical. So it's very easy to think you're falling for this person when you're in that environment. But then again, you have to
Yeah.
get out of that, just like the Bachelor and Bachelorette have their bubble where you're just like, oh my God, your whole
But do you
focus
think
is on one
can
person.
you imagine yourself falling in love with your dance partner? I just know my own personality. I would just be like, "This is so goofy. I can't."
I could see myself being physically into them, but falling in love with them, I'd need to be out of that bubble. But I
Yeah.
can see where the physicalness happens. I mean, I listen to Cheryl Burke's podcast, and she's had so many former pros and celebrities on, and they've
What do
all
they
admitted
say?
to it. That yeah,
They
I
say
mean,
it?
oh, they've said absolutely that it's very
Oh,
easy
wow.
to fall for your partner. And she says, like, usually it's the celebrity that falls first because the
Oh,
partners, this is their job. This is what they do. They've been dancing their whole lives. They've been having to be physical and intimate their whole lives with whoever
yeah.
their partner is. So this isn't anything out of the ordinary, but they do talk about how celebrities absolutely have fallen
Yeah,
for their
that
partner.
makes me wanna talk to Cheryl Burke. That's kind of interesting.
Oh,
What a
podcast
nutty
is
thing.
great. Yeah, her podcast is great. She gets a lot of tea, and a lot of her podcast guests and a lot of her podcasts in general just end up as stories on
Yeah.
people.com and Us
'Cause she's
Weekly.
so open, that's why. That's
Yeah.
always so good.
All right. Let's move on to this, and that is the shows that I know you've watched
Yes.
that I haven't watched
Oh,
that we
good.
could get
Yeah.
into.
Okay, good.
One of them that interests me, and you need to I know the very, very bare bones, but you need to dive into it more with me, is the Anatomy of a Lies show,
Okay,
which
this
was on
one's
it was on what was it on Peacock?
Peacock,
Hulu?
real good. You're gonna
Okay.
like this one. Grey's Anatomy writer, goes into her backstory. Lunatic from New Jersey who is a pathological liar and weasels her way into this story about how she had been diagnosed with cancer and receiving treatment and still writing. Use this as a way to get attention, and it gets in front. This piece that she writes gets in the front of Shonda Rhimes. She gets hired. She starts working at Grey's Anatomy. This woman is ruthless. She would take people's stories, like she was friends with everybody, so they like go on a hike, and someone would be like, this one woman in particular, she said, "It's been really hard for me because my father is actually my grandfather, and I've been trying to unpack that. You know, it's been really hard. And my mom was, you know, a victim, and blah blah blah." This woman weaves it into a story
On
as a
Grace?
character on yes, like, that is diabolical. So stealing people's stories and putting it into, like, their personal private information, weaving into stories on top of manufacturing this huge lie that she had been a cancer, um, uh, patient and would use it to get out of work. So she'd say, like, I'm getting some treatment, so I can't come to work." And then meanwhile, she's, like, getting Mai Tais at some hotel somewhere. Like, lies about every aspect of her life, and then she meets this woman at a rehab center, and then they have this relationship, and she bulldozes her. Every episode, you're like, "Okay, she's garbage." And then the next episode, you're like, "Oh, she's diabolical." And the next one, you're like, "She's a monster."
Hmm.
So, it's worth it to watch.
How many episodes is it?
I think it's 3. Easy breezy.
So the story is she got hired because did she put out an op-ed piece or something that
She wrote
Shonda
an
got a hold
art
of?
like a magazine article about how hard it was for her to be a TV writer while going through the process of cancer treatments, and it was all a big fat lie.
And Shonda saw it,
So
hired
Shonda
her.
Rhimes is like, "Well, I have this TV show about a hospital, and this woman has really interesting experience."
And these stories that you said she stole from people, who were the people that she stole from? The story that you said that the woman
Other writers.
other writers in the room
Yeah,
would
they
tell her
tell them to
something
yeah, yeah.
privately, and then she
Yes,
would
and
u
then she
w
would weave it into and this one
but
woman I told
didn't
you
the other
the
writers speak up and say,
no,
"That's my
no,
story"?
because the incest story, for example, the other writer, she's
Yeah.
like, "I was in disbelief as we were going around the table read, but there's also a power dynamic. Do I speak up
Uh,
or do I get fired? 'Cause she became the head writer.
the woman that Anatomy of Lies is about. She was the head
She
writer.
was the head
Okay.
writer.
Huh.
Yeah. Also, as the 'cause I interviewed the co-directors, they explained to me a lot of it was like a slow burn. So you're watching it with information bias and you're like, "This woman's delulu."
Yeah.
But then when you go over, like, the period time, like, she would tell, like, at one point, she said she was there on January 6th, like, comforting someone. Like, she just throws out she's like the Forrest Gump of the Anatomy of Lies in the world. And, everyone's like, "Oh, that," and I found out that was a lie, that was a lie. So you were looking at it going, You believe this shit that she told you?" But it was like a slow burn.
Mm. Well, when did this all take place? Because Grays is still on the air. When did she get fired or
I
found
think it
out or
was
what
just only,
happened?
like, 2 years ago, maybe?
And how did she get busted? Did she just have a come to Jesus moment and decide to tell people, or how
Yeah,
do
no,
people know?
it's like a process of putting all the pieces together, and then she sort of, like, went underground, and people are wondering what she's gonna do now. Like, she
Is
says
she in?
she wants to come back and write.
Is she in Anatomy of a Lies?
No.
Is she
No, no,
interviewed
no.
for it?
No, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
But they have, like, all this archival footage, and they interview all these people that work with her, and you're just like, "Whoa, this is crazy."
But since Anatomy of a Lies came out, has she done an interview and
No.
said,
Mm-mm.
"What?" So, okay.
I'm sure the person that works as our agent, God help them, they're probably like, "Just lay low and wait till it goes away."
I guess. Yeah.
She'll start a podcast, and it'll be called Anatomy of My Life.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, honestly, but what I'm saying is I guess I just wanna know, has she apologized for doing any
No,
of
no,
this?
no, no, no. No, 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 no. No.
But she hasn't doubled down and saying, like, I'm just comparing this to the Clayton Echard, Laura Owens stuff that I've been dealing with,
Oh,
where this woman
yeah.
lie, but just doubled down and has still not apologized or not
Oh,
admitted
yeah.
that
No,
she made the
yeah.
whole thing
No, no,
up.
no. No, that's similar. That's similar. By the way, what's the update on that case?
Um, her lawyer is in the process of filing an appeal, which they're going to lose. And but she lost the case. I mean, she owes Clayton $163
Wow.
thousand dollars in legal fees, which he's probably never going to see. But
I know
you
I
know,
tried to interview him once about it and never heard back from him.
oh yeah, I mean he's. Uh, I mean, I got him. It just because I was involved from the very beginning, and
And
I
she's
think he
just
felt,
insane.
and she's just literally the craziest person I've ever dealt with. And I haven't heard from her since I think January of this year in an email, and I will never hear from her. She's never going to reach out to me because she knows where I stand on the whole case. And but she is just someone that kept doubling down on everything when
Mm.
myself and Dave Neal were just saying, like, look,
Oh, sweet Dave
there's
Neal, yeah.
so much evidence against you. Your best bet right now is just be like, look,
Come clean.
I was going through a lot. My sister just had a baby. Felt I was missing out. I was in a very bad place. I'm sorry for doing this. Like, but no, she just continues to write blogs about how she's the victim and how she's been bullied online and people have told her to kill herself. And I just, it's like, I'm sorry, you've brought this all upon yourself.
Wow.
You deserve, not that you deserve death threats. No, she doesn't deserve that, but she deserves whatever punishment. And now she is actually, when the judge handed down the decision that she had lost the case and lost sanctions and owed him the money, the judge referred her to Arizona Maricopa County prosecutor's office. So she is now being criminally investigated for what she did, which everybody thinks she should be. Now, should she be criminally investigated for perjuring herself on the stand? It's got to go deeper than that because plenty of people lie in court and plenty of people lie on the stand,
Wow.
and you can just be like, there's murderers and rapists out there. You're gonna throw her in jail or charge her for lying on the stand. There's so much more important stuff. But the people that I've spoken to, they have just said, look, for a judge in a family court case to recommend that this be investigated on criminal charges, that's a big deal. And we are 6 months since that judgment came down on June 18th, or 5 months. And she is definitely still being investigated in Arizona. There are rumors going around that she is going to get charged, but it's just a matter of with what. I don't think they would
Wow.
just do it for perjuring herself and lying on the stand, because it's just like, really?
Yeah.
The taxpayers are spending money because someone lied on the stand. They're going to get her for, because come to find out through the course of this story, She had done this to 2 other men in Maricopa County. She's claimed to be pregnant 3 different times. She lost the babies all 3 times. She has orders of protections out against 3 different men. It's just like, either you have the worst luck with men or you're a liar. And I'm sorry, she loses the benefit of the doubt when she's been caught in so many lies. At least with me, she does. So,
Wow.
yeah, but that's
Sorry to
where
hear
we're
that.
at with that. So that's where I was wondering, does this woman in Anatomy of a Lie, has she come out and said, I shouldn't have said any of that stuff. I apologize for what I
No, no,
did.
no, 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 no.
Nothing.
No, but if you like that kind of stuff, you could also watch on HBO. There's a series called Breath of Fire, which is about a woman named Katie who was a YouTube astrologer and then got into Kundalini yoga and then ended up being the heir apparent to this Kundalini yoga group who sits on top of this big empire. You know, when you go to the grocery store and you see yogi tea, like hot in the hot tea section?
Yeah.
This man came from India in the 1960s. He worked as like a handler at the airport in India and moves to US and reinvents himself as this Kundalini yoga master. And he builds up this group of people that kind of followed him and built all these businesses. And so over the course of these 4 episodes, you see how money was mismanaged. He allegations that he assaulted women. So he dies in like 2004, and then by 2007, this woman Katie emerges, and it's total cultural appropriation where she's got like a turban on, but her hair's sticking out, and wearing all white, and she's getting all these women to work at these yoga institutes for next to nothing. And then taking the money that the people would spend and spending it on jewelry, and it's a whole crazy thing. And that's
Ugh.
on HBO.
Well, I was going to ask you as we wrap this up, to give your recommendations for things that people should watch, documentaries, movies coming out, anything like that. So I will let you go here with any 2-3 recommendations you have for people in the documentary world or even TV show world coming up. Anything
Yeah,
like
sure. Well, Anatomy of Lies on Peacock, Breath of Fire on HBO. There are lots of great sports docuseries specifically on Netflix. You could watch Sprint, Quarterback.
Starting
The
5.
Starting 5 is excellent. I interviewed the directors of that as well. Sprint has new episodes coming out.
Former Bachelor director.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I actually interviewed
Peter.
him.
Yeah,
Peter,
Peter.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, another great thing to look out for is in the next 2 weeks, you can watch a Netflix documentary about John Bonet. Eh? And that's by Joe Berlinger, who does a ton of true crime stuff. So it's 3 episode all about John Bonet.
We have a new John Bonet one, huh?
A new one. And then if you watch the Martha Stewart documentary, which I recommend, RJ Cutler's the director. He's also done the Elton John documentary that comes out next week too. So, and I have interviews with all of the people that are the directors. So if you watch these things, you can go back and listen to my interviews about kind of the making of them.
How was the Martha one?
Excellent. Here's my takeaway. I think she's just a mad genius. Like, did you watch the Untold episode about the sign stealer, Colin, the one?
No, actually, did I see it? I think I started it and then I got distracted and I haven't finished it. But I
Go
did
back and
start
watch it. But I feel like it's the same sort of thing. Like, some people just have that mad genius, and I kind of like think people should kind of figure out what that is. She was at the right place at the right time. She was relentless in her pursuit of success. But she's just kind of got a mad genius in her own the democratization of homemaking that was just the right place, right time, and the right person to do it. And I've just got enormous respect for her. And what's great about watching it now is she's in her 80s. She doesn't give a shit. She says what she thinks.
Yeah, I haven't. I saw that it's getting good reviews. I have not seen it. What was the other one I wanted to ask you about? Oh, I haven't seen this. I think it's out, if I'm not mistaken. Almost positive it is. How was the Saturday Night Live movie?
I didn't see it yet, but I did interview the author of the oral history of Saturday Night Live. And I
Is that
just had
James Miller? Is that James Miller?
James Miller, and I also interviewed Lorraine Newman, who was in the first cast of it. I do want to see that, but if you want to go, if you watch that, or you want to get ready to go see it, and you want a great Audible book, do the oral history of Saturday Night Live. Really fascinating to hear about the first season, how the show was conceptualized, some of the stars, and kind of the inner workings of the show, and how people are in the period of time where they film that show. They're so anxiety ridden, they like are
Oh, yeah.
sleepless. All that stuff I find interesting.
Yeah, you talk to any former cast member or just listen to them, because a lot of them go on podcasts. A lot of them have podcasts now. So quite a few of them have written books. It's just amazing that the show works the way it does. And we are now currently in season 50 of Saturday Night Live. And
Yeah.
in the 90s or whatever, the Chris Farley years and the Rob Schneiders and the Spades and Sandlers, it's still being done the same exact way. It is like literally a rush against the clock every single week,
Yeah.
where you just would think things would be more structured in a television show that's been on for 50 years. No, it is just run around with your hair on fire chaos every single week, trying to get stuff made, trying to get sketches written correctly, trying to make sure it gets through dress. It's just like, how does this even work? But everybody that went there said, yeah, no, you're up till the wee hours of the morning, writing sketches, getting stuff approved. Then you got a table read, and then you do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you would never believe that this is a successfully run ship for 50 years when
50 years. Unbelievable.
we're literally running around with our head chopped off all night long, Friday night into wee early hours of Saturday morning, and then Saturday night, everyone's just scrambling. But it's every week.
But remember when we were in college, like sometimes our best papers are the ones that we did last minute. So, you get a little fire in your belly.
It seems like that's the way it works for them. But Kate, thank you so much for coming on. Love having you on every few months. We'll probably have you on after the new year as well. And as we get ready maybe for the next Bachelor season, which starts in January.
Oh, and tell people that if you go to katecasey.substack.com, I have a newsletter every Monday where I tell you what to watch. So if you're going through the week and you're like, shit, I don't know what to watch, I'll tell you all the reality shows and documentaries that you need to watch.
And it's katecasey.substack.com.
Yeah, that's it.
And then you do a weekly, don't you have a
weekly Monday episode? I tell you what to watch.
Where you tell you what to watch too as well at the Reality Life podcast. So again,
Yep.
Kate, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. And we'll obviously be in touch.
Yes, thank you.